booktube, here to do a kind of video that I have not done in forever. I am here to do a tag video. I was tagged by the lovely, lovely, lovely Jen Campbell over at the channel Jen Campbell to do the New York Times by the book tag. So I will be doing that today. There are, I think, 10 questions. I have my little, this is my little tag notebook. This is a notebook I used to write down all my like tag answers and ideas and stuff when I'm going to do them. I just started, as you can see. But, so if I'm looking down, that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at my answers to the video. But the New York Times by the book tag, like I said, I was tagged by Jen. This is just kind of a tag that goes through some of the books that you're reading and some general like bookish questions. So let's get to it. The first question is the book currently on your nightstand. I am still reading A Little Life. I am about 150 pages from finishing. We will be talking about this book, folks. We will be having a discussion. I don't know how I feel about this book. I feel like this book is at both entrancing to me and also repulsive to me. I feel like this is the only book I want to be reading and also maybe not the best book to be reading for my mental health right now. So I'm torn, but I do want to finish it and I will be finishing it. Like I said, I only have about 150 pages left and I am really enjoying it as much as it is very, very, very heavy. So we will be talking about it as soon as I finish it, but that is the book that's currently on my nightstand. The next question is the last truly great book you read. I know you guys are tired of hearing me talk about it, but sorry, not sorry. The Lies of Locke, Lamora. This book is poetry and fantasy and heist and bromance all at the same time. And I'm just so completely here for that. The next question is, what writer, if you could meet any writer, dead or alive, which writer, who would you meet, and what would you ask them? And I had a very, very hard time with this question because there are lots of writers that I would like to meet. Gaiman, King, Pratchett, Martin, lots of people, lots of authors. But I couldn't really think of any like good questions for them. So the first one that came to mind that I was both an author that I adore and that I could think of questions for was James Baldwin. I love James Baldwin. I don't read a lot of classics, but every classic that I have read and loved with all my whole heart has been written by James Baldwin. It's not to say he's the only one, but I have absolutely I just love James Baldwin. Very, very much so. So I would love to sit and to talk with him about France and about the 20s and about the people he knew and the friends that he had. And I want to talk about Giovanni's Room. I want to know if there's a Giovanni. I want to know where that story came from. I want to know how he felt writing it. I want to know how he feels about the way people are still reading it today. If you don't know, Giovanni's Room is one of my favorite books of all time. It's about an American boy who's studying abroad and he is engaged to a woman, but he also meets and falls in love with a French waiter named Giovanni. And it's complicated and messy, and it's a comment on sexuality and sexual mores and identity and all of these things. And I can't even talk about it. That's how much I love it. So yeah, that's who I would meet, and that's what we would talk about. The next one are books on your shelves that would be a surprise, or like books you wouldn't necessarily expect to see on my shelves. This is a little unfair because I just, like, literally this past weekend did, like, a book clear out, so you won't actually find these books on my shelves anymore. But I think for a really long time, you guys would have been surprised to see quite a few books by the Duggar family. I have this weird fascination with the Duggar family because, like, I think it stems from this other fascination that I have with, like, weird fringe religions and, like, fanatics and evangelicals and extremists in any religion. And so that kind of, I think, spilled over into this deep and, to myself, disturbing sociological interest in the Duggars. So I read A Love That Multiplies. I read the book that the girls just put out that was all about their, like, dating life, only they don't date. So it was about, like, the things that they do instead of dating and why they don't date. I don't know. I don't know why, guys. I don't, but they were there. And I just had to admit to myself that, like, I've read them once. As much as I would like to read them again, I really don't need them on my shelves. Next question is, how do you organize your library? If you can't tell, I organize by color. This view is a little limited, but you can see here I have a red and pink shelf. You can kind of see a little bit down here. There's like some yellows and some oranges. And then up here you can see a little bit of the greens. And then we get into blues, and then purples are like down here. And then over here we have the blacks and the whites. But you will have also seen this on my upstairs shelves, because that's what I did the bookshelf tour of. I really like color. I am a visual person, so I really like organizing my books by color, because I have a pretty good memory for what book cover, like what each book's cover looks like that I actually own. And before you say it, yes, the only thing that is irritating is that I do have to split up my series, but c'est la vie. It would actually probably bug me more to have them all together, not in color order, especially because for a lot of my series, they're usually sci-fi or fantasy, so they're usually really long, so I usually buy secondhand copies, so they're not all the same. So like the Dark Tower series, here's one of the books, big, tall hardback. Here's another one of the books, little tiny mass market. So I just it would not jive with me to put those together, so I use the color method. Question number 6. Book you have meant to read and haven't gotten to yet. I have not read Gone Girl. Give that a minute to settle down on you. Haven't read it. Don't know if I will. I've downloaded the audiobook several times. I started the ebook a couple of times on my honeymoon. It's supposed to be really good. I'd like to get to it. I just don't, at this point, like, I don't know if I ever will. So, we'll see. I kind of know what happens. Don't spoil me. I don't know, like, the big twist. I have some inklings, but I don't, like, officially know it. So don't spoil me, just in case I do decide to read it one day. But, yeah. I just missed that boat, man. I missed that hype boat and just never got back on. Disappointing, overrated, or just plain bad book? This hurts my heart to say, because Jen was the one who tagged me. And I don't think it's a bad book, but I was really disappointed by the Book of Strange New Things. And there have been a couple of different instances of this year. This is just the one that's sticking out to me the most. And I just felt like it had such a cool, like, premise. And then it just fell so flat. So flat. I felt like, yeah, I just did not care for it. And I was bummed out because I really, really wanted to. Question number 8. This is a really hard question for me. What kind of stories are you drawn to, and what kind of stories do you avoid? There are very few stories that I avoid. Although I have my own struggles with mental health, I am lucky enough that I am very rarely triggered by anything that I read. So I don't really have any stories that I like avoid for any reason. But in terms of the stories that I'm drawn to, I am really, this sounds horrible to say, I'm really drawn to memoirs of tragedy. I'm thinking of books like this one, which is Escape by Carolyn Jessup, which is about this woman's escape from her FLDS polygamist family. I'm thinking of books like Even Silence Has an End by Ingrid Betancourt, which is a very long and very emotionally tough book about her kidnapping and capture and captivity in the Amazon? South American? Some rainforest. I'm not entirely sure. It's been a while since I've read it. But yeah, I don't know. I'm really enthralled by these horrible stories of deep and dark struggle that usually end in some kind of overcoming or accomplishment or just getting out of that situation. And I don't really know why. That's why this question was so tough for me, because I had to like stop and examine like, well, why those stories? And I think it's just because of that like overcoming to positivity thing. But I also will admit, I think it might be a little bit of schadenfreude, and not reveling in the pain of others, but just allowing other people's pain to kind of put my pain into perspective, if that makes sense. Oh God, that sounds so bad to say out loud. I'm not a bad person, you guys. I hope you know that. That sounds so bad to say out loud. Moving on. Question number 9. If you could make the president read one book, what would it be? And I was torn on this one because I feel like President Obama is really well read. So I would have to pick very carefully for him. And I don't know if I'd want to pick like just a fun book that we could talk about, or like a book that I'm like, read this, learn things. But I decided to go with the book that I would give to Donald Trump. Is that bad? I mean, obviously I don't want him to be president, but I just feel like if that's going to happen, this is the book I would give him because it's fucking terrifying, and it's Everyday Sexism by Laura Bates. This is a book that has just very recently come out in the US. It has already had its release in the UK, and it is a book about, as it sounds, everyday sexism, the things that women go through every single day that are not necessarily institutionalized, but are socially codified as being okay. Everything from like street harassment to manspreading and mansplaining. So this is the book that I would, you know what? I wouldn't even just give it to Trump. I'd probably give it to Bernie too. I may even give it to Hillary if we're being honest. So yeah, that's the book that I would pick. And next up, the book that you're reading next, I need to like step out of the cave of a little life once I'm done and like bask in the sunshine of something else. So I think I'm going to pick up some Terry Pratchett. I think I'm going to get to The Light Fantastic as well as Equal Rights and just read them back to back and just gobble up the candy that is the Discworld series. So yeah, that is my New York Times by the book tag. I would like to tag down below any channel that has an S in it. Yeah, why not? Go for it. And also, of course, if you would just like to do this tag, I would love to see your answers. If you've already done it, link me down below. If you have any thoughts, comments, questions, concerns, or you just want to chat, we can do all of that down below. And of course, check me out on Instagram and Twitter and Goodreads. I'm all over the internet. I'm always here to talk about books, guys. All right. Happy reading.